You're doing everything they told you to do. You visualize every morning. You write down your desires. You repeat your affirmations. You meditate. You try to stay in alignment with yourself. You speak in high frequencies. You tell yourself you trust the universe. Yet when you look around, your reality looks painfully unchanged. Different months, same emotions, new intentions, same outcomes. You wonder why, despite all this effort, the relationships you attract still feel like the ones you're trying to escape. Your financial situation resets. No matter how hard you push, your inner world oscillates between hope and quiet despair. And underneath all of this, the question begins to echo more and more loudly. What am I doing wrong? Why does my life feel like a cycle I can't break? Here's the truth. It's not you. It's not your worth, not your potential, not your intelligence, not even your effort. It's your energy frequency. The quantum field doesn't respond to effort. It doesn't respond to how badly you want something. It doesn't reward the number of hours you visualize, the intensity of your affirmations, or the amount of positive vibes you try to cultivate. The quantum field responds to one thing and one thing only, the signal you broadcast deep within yourself beneath the surface of everything you say and do. It's the vibration you embody when no one's looking. When you stop performing, when you're not trying to manifest, you're not stuck because you're failing at manifestation. You're stuck because you haven't yet stopped vibrating like the past version of yourself you've already outgrown. And until that vibration dissolves, the field will faithfully keep reflecting it back to you, not out of cruelty, but out of perfect coherence. The quantum field is neutral. It doesn't judge your desires as good or bad, right or wrong. It simply mirrors the energetic reality you believe to be true. This is why, no matter how many new vision boards you make, how many guided meditations you follow, how many books you read, your life can still feel eerily the same. It's not personal, it's pure energy physics. There's a law you weren't taught in school, the law of vibrational reflection. Whatever your subconscious mind believes is safe, it recreates. Not because it's aligned with your greatest purpose, but because it's comfortable. The quantum field listens to that comfort as if it were an order. It says, oh, this is what you feel most often. This is what you believe. This is the version of reality you've stabilized in. All right, let's keep repeating it. And so it does. Again and again, you don't manifest from your vision board. You manifest from your state of being, from the energy you emit when you're not even thinking about manifesting. When you're simply living, reacting, feeling stress, handling loss, or celebrating a win, you manifest from the tone of your inner dialogue when no one's watching, from how you see yourself when things fall apart, from the vibration you carry in the quiet moments between effort and surrender. That's why people stay stuck in the same patterns, even when outer routines shift. New habits, new affirmations, new morning rituals, the inner frequency stays the same. You can repeat abundance 1,000 times, but if your body is still programmed for lack, the field doesn't hear abundance. It hears fear, and it answers accordingly. The universe isn't punishing you or withholding your desires. It's simply echoing your strongest signal with absolute precision. Yet most people mistake that mirror for failure. But it's not failure, it's feedback. A flawless, neutral reflection of what you consistently believe to be true. And mirrors don't lie, they don't criticize, they just reflect. So what, if instead of chasing a new version of reality with more methods, more scripts and more books, you simply became aligned enough to let the field reflect something new? What if manifestation isn't about doing more, but undoing the vibrations that keep repeating, like an invisible code running behind the scenes of your life, shaping your experiences without permission? Because here's the truth. You can't rewrite your life while being tuned to the same emotional channel. You can't attract higher realities while still anchored in old stories, fears, and memories that no longer serve you. The cycle doesn't repeat because you're lazy or unlucky. It repeats because you're still broadcasting the same energetic signature. You're doing new routines but carrying the same doubt. You're saying new affirmations but feeling the same old resistance. You're taking new actions but still wearing yesterday's energy. And the quantum field, infinitely intelligent yet perfectly neutral, keeps matching your signal with total accuracy. That's not punishment, that's resonance. That's how the field works. It doesn't resist your desires, it reflects your identity. And identity isn't what you say it is, it's what your energy keeps declaring. It's the sum of everything you expect, everything you allow, what you tolerate, what you sink into when the rituals fade, and it's just you, alone with your frequency. So, if you truly want to stop reliving the same reality, you must stop transmitting the same vibration. To do that, you have to become deeply aware of what you've been unconsciously replaying, emotionally, mentally, energetically. Because until you interrupt that cycle, you're not manifesting a new life. You're just decorating the old one with nicer words, shinier tools, and more advanced techniques. But here's the shift. The moment you become aware of your loop, the instant you can witness it without falling into it, you create the space to step beyond it. That is the essence of quantum transformation, not forcing a new reality into existence, but embodying a new frequency, so the universe rearranges itself around you without resistance. And that's exactly what we're going to explore together in this video. In the next phase, you'll uncover how your subconscious mind generates vibrational echoes that keep replaying old experiences, why your mind clings to the familiar even when your soul is desperate to evolve, and the missing key to shifting reality, not through willpower, but through resonance. This isn't just about theories, it's about transformation, deep, cellular, energetic transformation. So take a slow breath. Let the old frequency begin to loosen its grip. Let the patterns you've outgrown dissolve inside your awareness. Because next, we're going to dive into how your subconscious, your nervous system, and the quantum field have been secretly working together to recreate the same version of your life. And more importantly, how you can finally break that pattern. You now understand that what keeps repeating is not destiny, it's frequency. But how does that actually work beneath the surface? Here's the truth. Your subconscious mind wasn't built to make you happy, it was built to keep you safe. And safe doesn't mean joyful, safe doesn't mean limitless. Safe simply means familiar. Your subconscious carries every experience, belief, trauma, and emotional response, all woven together over years, maybe lifetimes, of reinforcement. These networks form what scientists call neural pathways, highways of thought, feeling, and reaction that operate automatically without conscious control. Your nervous system memorizes these patterns as its default settings. How you handle pressure, how you give or receive love, how you manage money, how you interpret rejection or success. Each of these patterns emits a unique vibrational code that your body broadcasts, even when your conscious mind is focused on something else. And here's the catch. The quantum field doesn't respond to your wishes, your goals, or your affirmations. It responds to your blueprint. The signal you send most consistently, your dominant vibration, is what the field mirrors back. The vast majority of that signal is unconscious, your automatic emotions, reflex thoughts, and embodied memories. This is why change can feel like swimming upstream, because when you try to manifest a new outcome, you're often doing it from the very same programming that created the old one. It's like trying to write a brand new story, while the same hidden script keeps auto-correcting your every line. You slip back into what feels safe, what feels known. Let's bring in quantum physics for a moment. In the quantum model, reality doesn't exist as one fixed story. It exists as a field of limitless probabilities, every potential version of your life floating as waves of possibility. But those waves don't solidify into physical form until something powerful happens. Observation, intention, and most importantly, coherence. Coherence is when every part of your energy, your mind, your emotions, your body, and your vibration begin to move in the same rhythm. Without coherence, your signal is scattered, fragile, inconsistent, and a scattered signal cannot rewrite the deeply encoded patterns of your past. This is where most people unknowingly get trapped. They try to force transformation using only their conscious thoughts, not realizing their subconscious is still transmitting the old frequency at a much louder volume. Neuroscience shows that nearly 95% of your daily behavior, emotion, and reaction comes from subconscious programming. That means only a small fragment, about 5% of your total energy. Iyan bisa is creating something new, while the rest of you is on autopilot, replaying the same emotional music. This is why, despite visualizing abundance or affirming self-love, you often attract the same relationships, repeat the same financial struggles, and face the same emotional patterns. Your subconscious mind is still wired for those familiar outcomes, and your body is still broadcasting the vibration of those experiences. Think of it this way. In quantum language, your conscious focus may be fixated on the desired future, but your vibration is still entangled with the timeline you want to escape. The quantum field doesn't respond to what you wish for, it responds to what you are. And what you are beneath every affirmation and every meditation is determined by the subconscious patterns you haven't yet rewritten. Let's make this real for a moment. Remember the last time you tried to change something major, maybe your career, your relationship, or your health. At first you felt unstoppable, full of passion, optimism, ready to create a new chapter. But then resistance showed up. Doubt, fear, delay. You started to question everything. You procrastinated, found excuses, felt the urge to quit. That wasn't random. That was your subconscious mind defending the familiar, pulling you back to what it knows best, even if what it knows is pain. Your body plays a vital role in this. As Dr. Joe Dispenza often says, the body is the subconscious mind. It carries emotional memories, stress patterns, and reactive habits that define who you've been. So when you try to evolve into a new state of being, your body resists, not to punish you, but to protect you. It's been conditioned to crave predictability. It creates thoughts and emotions designed to drag you back into the known. That's not failure, that's programming. This is how quantum repetition operates. Your subconscious builds a steady vibrational field. The quantum field mirrors that vibration back to you as your life experiences. And then, those experiences reinforce the subconscious belief that created them in the first place. The loop continues endlessly until you wake up to it. Awareness breaks the code. When you see the loop, when you can feel it without judgment and bring new energy into that exact moment, that's where transformation begins. But here's the truth. You can't force your way out. You can't overpower years of subconscious programming with a few affirmations on your bathroom mirror. That's why so many people end up exhausted by manifestation. They're working on the surface, while the real mechanism of creation lies deep within the subconscious, the realm where vibration becomes reality. The quantum shift requires coherence, a full-body alignment between your conscious desire, your subconscious belief, and your emotional signature. It's not about saying new words, it's about embodying new energy. It's not about wishing, it's about becoming. And most people stop right here, on the edge of their breakthrough, still tangled in the frequency of their old self. But you don't have to. You can learn to spot the exact moment when you're about to loop back into the old frequency, and use that moment as a doorway. You can feel the pull of the familiar and choose consciously not to step back into it. When that resistance shows up, that tension, that frustration that makes you feel like nothing's changing, that's actually the signal that change is closest. Think about it. Before any transformation, there is chaos. Before light, there's compression. That uncomfortable tension is not the end. It's the threshold. It's the quantum friction between who you've been and who you're becoming. Your nervous system interprets it as fear, but in truth it's energy reorganizing itself into a higher frequency. So the next time you feel like giving up, remember, that feeling is your signpost. It's the moment the old timeline is losing power and the new one is forming beneath your feet. If you can stay conscious right there, if you can breathe through the discomfort without reacting, you collapse the old vibration and open the field to something new. That's how you change timelines. That's how you shift realities. Because here's the secret no one tells you. You don't chase a new reality. You stabilize into it. You become coherent enough, consistent enough, vibrationally steady enough that the field has no choice but to reflect your new frequency. And once it does, your external world rearranges like a mirror reflecting a new face. The loop ends and something entirely new begins. Not because transformation is wrong, but because it demands tremendous energetic realignment to move from one vibrational state to another. It requires the unraveling of the old identity before the new one can anchor itself. That unraveling often feels like collapse, like everything you've built is slipping through your fingers, like none of your efforts are paying off. But beneath that chaos, something sacred is happening. The old vibration is beginning to dissolve, and your entire system, your mind, your body, your energy, is recalibrating to hold something higher, something new. One of the clearest signs that you are on the verge of a quantum leap is the sudden reappearance of your oldest patterns with unexpected intensity. You might catch yourself revisiting old habits, facing familiar challenges, or feeling emotional triggers you thought you'd already healed. This isn't regression, it's a flare-up, the final surge of an old frequency that senses it's about to lose control. The subconscious doesn't surrender easily. It will test your strength. It will tempt you to step back into what's known. It will hand you the same circumstances wrapped in new disguises and whisper, "Are you sure you're ready to let go?" This is why so many people sabotage themselves moments before their biggest breakthrough, not because they lack willpower, but because they're unprepared for the emotional turbulence that comes with leaving behind the familiar, even when the familiar has been a source of pain. There's another unmistakable sign. You begin to feel emotionally stretched, as if you're standing between two worlds. One part of you longs for expansion, for the life you've been envisioning. The other clings tightly to what feels safe, the routines, the patterns, the beliefs that once defined you. This internal tug-of-war is the essence of the quantum shift. It's messy, it's uncomfortable, but it's proof that you are exactly where you're meant to be. At this crossroads, most people face two choices. They retreat, slipping quietly back into their old, energetic baseline, repeating the same storyline under a new date. Or they lean forward, into the discomfort, into the unknown, recognizing it as the threshold of transformation. That choice determines everything, whether the loop continues or the shift begins. And there's a physical component to this moment too. Your body will resist. You may feel exhaustion, tension, anxiety, restlessness, even strange waves of dizziness or fatigue. That's because your nervous system is trying to reconcile the gap between frequencies, between who you've been and who you're becoming. Your body has memorized the stress, the limits, and the emotional chemistry of your old self. Moving beyond that programming triggers a kind of vibrational detox, a purging of old energy to make space for new alignment. This discomfort doesn't mean you're failing. In truth, it's confirmation that you're breaking the loop. The system is fighting to protect what's familiar, not to stop your growth. But if you mistake this friction for failure, you'll retreat. If you understand it for what it is, energetic resistance signaling evolution, you'll move through it. If you recognize it as an essential part of your evolution, you'll endure and you'll transform. Let's ground this in something real. Imagine you're manifesting a new relationship, a new career, or a higher level of abundance. You've been doing the inner work, setting intentions, visualizing, aligning your energy, and then suddenly an old fear surfaces. What if I'm not ready? What if it falls apart again? What if I fail? That fear reignites familiar patterns. You hesitate, you delay, you lower your standards, you settle for less. The loop begins to reactivate. But what if in that instant, instead of defaulting to the old pattern, you paused? What if you saw the fear not as truth, but as a leftover echo of your past frequency? What if you chose in that moment to breathe, to regulate your nervous system, to stay conscious in the discomfort without collapsing into it? That is the moment of quantum shift, not when you force a new reality, but when you refuse to feed the old one. Another unmistakable sign that you're nearing a shift is synchronicity, not just external symbols, but the seamless alignment of your inner and outer worlds. You may start seeing repeating numbers, vivid dreams, unexpected invitations, or moments when your thoughts seem to instantly shape your surroundings. These are signals that your energy is becoming coherent, synchronized with the frequency of the reality you're summoning. But remember, signs alone don't guarantee transformation. They are invitations, not confirmations. The real question is, how will you respond when they appear? Will you trust the unfolding even when it feels strange, or will you retreat to what's known? The quantum shift demands that you stay in the liminal space, the sacred in-between, long enough for the new vibration to stabilize. This is the hardest part. It asks for faith without evidence, movement without certainty, and presence without control. Yet, here's the paradox. It's within that uncertainty that the field reorganizes itself around your new signal. The old reality begins to dissolve, not because you fought it, but because you stopped feeding it with attention, fear, and reaction. You created a vacuum, and the universe fills that vacuum with coherence. So, if your old patterns are resurfacing, if your body feels resistance, if synchronicities surround you, and if you feel stretched between who you were and who you're becoming, understand this: you're not failing, you're shifting. In the next phase, we'll go deeper into how to move through this transition gracefully, the practical methods to stop reacting to the old frequency and start embodying the new one. This is how the quantum shift stops being an idea and becomes a lived reality. Take a deep breath. You are much closer than you think. So how do you shift, not someday but now, in this fragile space between your old self and the one that's calling you forward? The answer might surprise you, because everything you've been taught says to push harder, to fix, to fight. But in the quantum model, creation isn't forced, it's tuned. Frequency isn't something you do, it's something you become. To shift realities, you don't need to construct the future, you need to tune into it. Because in the quantum field, that future is already alive, waiting for your coherence. So the question becomes, how do you stabilize a new frequency? How do you stop reacting to the old loop and start broadcasting a new signal? It begins with the body. Most people try to change their mindset while ignoring their physiology, but your body is the true transmitter of your vibration. If your nervous system is dysregulated, if your body is still programmed for fear, contraction, or urgency, it will override every new thought you attempt to install. That's why you can know all the right things and still feel trapped. The real shift happens when your body becomes coherent with the reality you are manifesting. That means training your body to feel safe in new emotions, peace, expansion, joy, abundance, especially if it's spent years normalizing anxiety, scarcity, and doubt. So here's the practice. Don't try to affirm your way into your future self. Feel your way into it. Close your eyes and imagine the version of you already living that reality. Not just what they have, but how they feel: calm, grounded, luminous, free. Now, breathe that emotional tone into your body, not as a performance, but as energetic training, teaching your nervous system to rest in that frequency until it becomes your new normal. This isn't about pretending, it's about retraining your state of being until your system begins to recognize the new frequency as safe. Do it gently, without pressure or perfection. Even 5 seconds of authentic coherence can interrupt years of conditioning. 5 seconds of inner alignment carries more power than 5 hours of mental effort. Second, observe without collapsing. This means noticing your old emotional patterns without fusing with them. When fear rises, don't suppress it or run from it, just watch it breathe. When a reactive thought appears, pause and ask yourself, does this belong to the version of me I'm releasing, or the one I'm becoming? That small moment of awareness is the bridge. It's where your power lives. The more often you can witness your patterns without falling into reaction, the more space you create for a new frequency to anchor. Third, let go of urgency. The quantum field is beyond time. Whenever you feel rushed, desperate, or anxious to manifest, your body is broadcasting lack. Even if your mind holds the image of what you want, your vibration says, it's missing. So slow down. You don't have to chase what's already yours in another timeline. You only need to vibrate in harmony with it. Remember this truth. Reality doesn't shift because you try harder. It shifts the moment your frequency no longer sustains the old timeline. When the energetic foundation of your present reality dissolves, it's because it's no longer held together by your beliefs, emotions, or identity. Here's a powerful reframe. Stop searching for proof. Stop waiting for signs that it's working. When you demand proof too early, you're transmitting doubt. Instead, treat the absence of evidence as confirmation that your transformation is deepening. Smile when nothing seems to be happening. That's when you're truly rewiring the frequency that once controlled you. Manifestation isn't about adding more. It's about clearing interference, the noise, tension, and urgency that block your signal. The more you let go, the more naturally your true vibration shines through. You don't need to build a new self from the ground up. You only need to stop energizing the version you've outgrown. You're not becoming someone new. You're remembering the being you were before fear, doubt, and repetition took over. Understand this, the shift is not linear. It doesn't always look like forward motion. Sometimes it feels still, sometimes it feels tight, uncertain, or empty. But if you remain coherent, if you keep returning to the feeling of you, your future self again and again, quietly, patiently, the quantum field begins to reorganize around you in ways your effort never could. Because the field doesn't respond to your deadlines, it responds to your alignment. And alignment isn't a mindset. It's your vibrational home. So I'll ask you now, if you feel this shift happening, if you sense that inner awakening stirring in your body, drop a comment below. You're not alone in this evolution. I'm ready to shift, not because I demanded change, but because this, right here, is your moment to claim it, to speak as your new self, to anchor a frequency so strong that it ripples through the field, not as thought, but as pure resonance. We're almost there now. In this final part, everything comes together. You'll learn how to walk in coherence, how to live this transformation day by day until you embody it so completely that you become the frequency itself, and the field has no choice but to mirror you. You've already come so far. You've seen how the loop sustains itself, how the subconscious repeats the same programs that keep your reality on replay, how your body clings to the emotional imprints of your past self, mistaking them for safety. You've learned that the quantum field doesn't resist your desires. It simply reflects the signal you broadcast, not what you wish for, but what you are. And now here you stand, on the threshold of a new reality. That threshold isn't somewhere in the future, it's right here, right now, in the moment you choose to embody a new vibration, to move beyond reaction, beyond repetition, and become the conscious creator of your reality instead of an unconscious participant in its loop. Understand this. The quantum shift isn't a one-time explosion that suddenly changes everything. Most of the time it's subtle, almost invisible, an accumulation of small moments, micro-decisions, tiny shifts where you choose awareness over reaction, where you soften instead of tense, trust instead of panic. Each of those moments is movement. Each one is alignment. Each one is you, stepping out of the loop and into the field of infinite possibility. New realities don't form through force. They emerge through resonance. That's the secret most people miss. Your future isn't something you chase. It's something you tune into. It's a vibration you stabilize within yourself so steadily, so faithfully, that the quantum field reorganizes around it. This is what it means to live as your quantum self, to realize you're not separate from the version of you who already exists in the reality you desire. You're entangled with that self right now, across the field. The only question is, which signal are you amplifying? The loop ends when you stop feeding it, when you stop repeating the same inner dialogues, stop nurturing the same doubts, stop rehearsing the same identity that no longer fits. The shift happens when you allow those old patterns to dissolve, not by fighting them, but by releasing resistance. And here's the most beautiful part. You don't have to do it perfectly. Perfection isn't required for alignment. Presence is. The field doesn't ask for perfection, only for consistency, coherence, and the courage to return again and again to the signal of your future self, even when your outer world hasn't yet caught up. Especially then, because that's the real test. Not whether you can hold your frequency when everything is easy, but whether you can stay aligned when nothing seems to be changing. Can you still broadcast abundance when your bank account shows lack? Can you stay anchored in love when relationships feel uncertain? Can you trust the shift when the old loop still echoes in your world? Most people stop here believing it's not working because they can't see instant proof, but you know better now. You know how the field responds to your embodied frequency, not your frustration. You know the shift begins in the unseen and only later becomes visible. You know the reality you seek doesn't need to be chased, it needs to be received. So, as you stand here on the edge of your new reality, ask yourself, are you willing to keep broadcasting your new signal even when the old patterns try to pull you back? Are you ready to walk as the person who has already shifted even before the world mirrors it back? Because that's the essence of this transformation, to choose coherence over chaos, resonance over reaction, faith over fear. If you will, then you've already shifted more than you realize. The field is responding. Your new reality is forming around your vibration. It may take time for every piece to fall into place, but the transformation has already begun within you. Breathe deeply and let that knowing settle inside. You are not a victim of your reality. You are its creator, always have been, always will be. And if this message resonates with you, stay connected to this space, a community of quantum creators learning to live in harmony with the reality they know is possible. The loop ends here. The shift begins now. Welcome to your new frequency.